Hey, two things,
Go ahead, Will.
Sure.
yes, yeah, short things from the short corner. Did you know April 8th? Our area will be in the total solar eclipse zone
Mhm.
next year,
Yeah.
April 8th, 2024.
Oh,
So
wow.
keep that in mind because people will come out of the woodwork. They had over 1 million people in, go to Wyoming, a state of 500,000 people, for the last, total eclipse, 27.
But this is it, it's gonna be cloudy.
Well,
Yeah, that was my thought.
still come because they don't know, so be prepared.
Yeah.
But there are other
I was
areas.
in one, I have to tell you, it
That's
was amazing.
Yeah,
Happened to be able to drive into France just to get over the border into where it was the complete thing,
Yeah.
and it was cloudy. And you could, you hardly
It's still
saw any
kind of
sun
weird.
at all, but it just got so eerie and still, and all the birds stopped singing
Yeah.
and gathered in the trees and went to sleep.
Goes between the sun and the earth.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
so,
Mhm.
yeah,
it was so
it's
amazing.
complete, yeah, yeah, it's pretty
It
amazing.
did that 20 years ago.
I think it was longer than that.
I don't know, I went out.
We were kids,
I went out with the welding goggles and watched it.
yeah.
It was cool.
Okay. And, that, actually, that's really all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Thanks,
Well,
Will.
that's good.
Did everyone have a chance to take a look at the notes from last meeting? Anyone have any corrections or updates?
What's a PDR?
Purchase of development rights
Yeah,
Thank you.
and the state actually offers grant funding to municipalities.
And NPR is something else.
No,
Now they're doing fundraising again, so we have.
Will, did you want to do a quick 5 to 10 minutes on signs, since that came up at the town board meeting?
Well, yeah, but we have 2 town board members here. And I couldn't hear everything, but I think you guys can jump in. I think Tim made a proposal for a resolution, so I guess that means you will, it'll come up for a vote at the next meeting.
We made a proposal that Cal would work with the highway superintendent to find, yeah, go ahead.
Total of 8 signs, 2 on each town border on the state road, and then 6 on, the other. And actually, like Coddington Road, but that's a county road, but and like today I had to go to Dryden. And there's a right to farm as soon as you come into Dryden off Midline Road. And there's not one coming this way, so, I think, yeah, it'd be
So all we have to do is,
Yeah.
put something on the back.
on the backside of the same sign.
Right. No, that's great. So is there anything that this committee needs to do? to
Well,
help?
I guess
think
maybe just once just kind of any suggestion as to where we've chose to put it, if it seems right. I mean,
As to the what?
where we just decide we'll put those 6. I'm thinking either end of Coddington Road, Midline, and Buffalo Road. I mean, Buffalo Road at one end and South Road.
Ought to be down on Brookendale Road.
Yeah, we talked about Brookendale, right?
Valley Road,
Valley Road.
Yep, and then.
and then the other end is Old 76.
Would be, yeah.
The 2,
Speeds.
but then that ends up being 9 signs instead of 6.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, depends on how you do it, but anyway.
Yeah, but just the most traveled roads, east, west, north, and south.
Sounds great.
So.
Have you chatted with Bob about it yet? I talked to him about it before the meeting.
Chatted with him about it, and he's gonna check with county highway and just,
Great.
we just need to.
can they
keep
just
being
say right to farm community or something like that?
poked. Yeah. I mean, there's a few different type signs, the traditional one is, a picture of a farmer,
Yeah,
sort of, or a guy with a hat on a tractor.
probably have you checked, suspect Chemung Supply may actually have them in stock.
Yeah.
And,
I've seen simple ones with just the wording.
yeah,
Right.
right to farm, yeah.
2x2 sign. standard or 20 by 24 inches.
Mhm. Okay,
Cool.
yeah, that sounds great. Thank you
But,
for that
you know,
update.
it's certainly not, you know, I think initially we talked about, you know, it added up to a huge number of signs.
Well, anything is better than what we have now, so,
Which is very close to nothing.
yeah. Okay, cool. Monica?
Yeah, so I had kind of gone through based on the feedback from the last meeting to see if there were any things really that needed a change. And I did a little tweaking, but I'm not sure you even noticed it. And then Don offered a few things to tweak, which I thought were good suggestions. So I guess the main point is I'm not hearing like a lot of change this kind of language or whatever. So I just am sort of wanting to know if you guys are comfortable with where this, how this document is starting to look, and if this is, I mean, if you like the big goals, if you like the action steps. Don pointed out a couple that sounded redundant, and I agreed with him. So, you know, if you're comfortable with the way the language it reads, I mean, we can certainly keep tweaking it. And if there's anything missing, we can keep adding to it, but I'm just sort of feeling,
Asking
not
for
feeling-
feedback one way or the other.
Hmm?
You're asking for feedback.
yeah, so I'm not feeling a lot of like, okay, I guess everybody's all right with this, because I'm not hearing any major outcry that, you know.
I like the new format a lot. I was wondering what granted, I didn't have a lot of time to spend with this. I was only able to skim through it. But one thing that I have heard repeatedly from this group, from the April gathering, and you know, since the whole time I've been involved in this committee, was the idea of food freedom. And I wasn't sure that I saw that reflected in here. Will, did you have any thoughts on that?
I think it was in there.
I
Is it?
think the way
Yeah.
I kind of put it, I mean, I had gotten some feedback, maybe it was at the meeting that we had in person where people said they didn't really like the language.
Hmm,
So I think I changed it, but I'd have to find it myself.
okay,
To say, you know, how I rephrased it. Let's see,
I just know for me, the food freedom idea leaves me uncomfortable just knowing what my experience is with regulatory.
Mhm.
But then George, I'm doing dairy, you know,
Mhm.
make cheese and milk and just, you know,
meat
And then
and
there's-
dairy are the two areas that would be like
yeah.
really hard to make any progress with, but potentially,
But
I,
but what I hear the ongoing education things that I have to go to is there's more coming, there's
Mm.
more.
right,
um,
yeah, FISMA is gonna,
FISMA is,
yeah,
you know, there's gonna be.
gonna start hitting more small producers, yeah,
And this keeps gonna be smaller and smaller
yeah.
people and, yeah. I don't know, I just, you know, looking forward, I mean, I think food sovereignty and more freedom would be good, but what I think, my experience is what I think doesn't mean anything.
Hmm.
I,
Right, so you're saying, I guess what I'm taking away from what you're saying is that we would do better to focus on what we have some control over.
yes,
Here,
that's
then.
what I'm, and I just, you know. I just see things going the other way. And I think it's unfortunate for small producers.
Yeah.
That's my,
there's certainly, you know, the government makes regulations that. You know, are broad based, but they don't, you know, it doesn't fit all sides of operations,
what
so.
always gets thrown up in my face is. You don't wanna make somebody sick.
Mhm, yeah.
Well, yeah, of course I don't,
Right,
but
You know,
not
But I mean,
usually.
we don't use that standard for a
Most
lot of
people.
other things, so it's like.
right, but
Yeah,
you know, and
huh.
so anyway, that's just my experience is that it's gonna get that's a pipe dream.
Mhm.
But the balance of it would be more education, yeah. Because when you know what you're dealing with and understand the process.
Yeah, but there's just certain things, reports and filings and just that, there's, and maybe it's not that, but there's always this kind of straw that breaks the back.
Mhm.
And,
Well, most.
I mean, like one of the things they're always harping to me about, like, the floor. Well, if it hits the floor, I throw it
Right.
out
Right,
Or eat it.
myself.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
a lot of those regs are directed at food that's gonna travel.
And I think the regs are really directed at really large scale industrial where you got people that just, they're there to earn a wage, they
They don't care.
yeah.
and where does all the cases of food sickness and the major
Yeah.
recalls, like, where does that come from?
Yeah,
Those really large operations, like,
yeah,
it's-
so, well, that's why I was thinking the opposite of the regulations is education. Because when you know how things are done locally, I mean, we do a lot of food trading,
Right.
and but a lot of the things we trade with other people, we know about the process that they're using and that we're using, and
I don't want to distract, but I just.
yeah,
It
no, I hear
just
you,
kind
Tom.
of, it always just kind of leaves me. Yeah, it's not the way I just like they did wishful, I just think.
Yeah,
I don't
we
wanna
put the efforts of the committee into doing the things to
Things we can
support
keep it-
small farmers, so
Yeah.
that the fact that they're still gonna have to go through all these regulations, at least it's less onerous because there's people to help you do the forms, or there's
Or something, yeah.
there's a bunch of money thrown at you or whatever, so that you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, New York State is one of the. When I first started looking at wanting to do cheese, I had an inspector tell me, you want to make cheese, move to Pennsylvania. Just that attitude.
Yeah,
In New York, in New York, there's the other side is regulatory does a great job in this state. You go to Georgia and Peanut Company of America hadn't been inspected in 6 years and they had. Something and what it killed 15 people or made them really.
Yep.
So there's, anyway.
okay,
I think maybe there is a way to kind of think about how can you, I think of it as common sense. There's a lot of, but the government takes away the common sense.
I was gonna say, and common sense isn't always so common either.
No,
so-
not with regulations, so, but how can we, at a local level, is there a way that, you can create systems of exchange, sort of like what you're
Right.
saying, without having,
Or education, just like
Yeah.
the health department that walks through the farmer's market. And just, make sure that maybe. I don't know, but yet they've got somebody looking over them saying, are
yeah,
you doing your job? And, you don't wanna. They gotta enforce the rules and.
yeah,
But
education on how to stay under the radar.
I was gonna
Right.
say, just under the radar is kind of the thing, yeah.
But that's what the Grange would do, right? If we have a Caroline Grange, this
Yeah.
idea from Dawn. But if
Yeah.
there's 100 new little farmers and we all meet together and do stuff. Of course, she goes, yeah, you got this, I got this.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
You know,
I
and-
remember when Egg and Market was trying to educate me about the packaging, tamper-proof packaging. And I just finally said, don't I have the same licensing or permitting as the deli, as the grocery store? And he's like, yeah. And I go, I don't see them put the
Yeah,
extra seals on it. They just hand it to me and I go home with it. So why should I not be able to hand it to my customer at the farmer's market?
Yeah.
And at that point, he was like, oh yeah, okay, no problem. So,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you have to be.
Sometimes you have to educate the
Yeah.
Well,
inspectors too.
they're just going down their
Checklist.
checklist and not thinking about Well, you know, I don't think she'd ever been to our farmer's market,
Mm,
so. Even the people I don't know that I sell to, I'm connected
right.
to.
But they get a job just doing it and they just look at paper and they were trained, set
Mhm.
training.
Yeah.
Now they go out and do it. They don't understand the whole process themselves, a lot of them.
Mhm.
And then you just check the box, go,
Mhm.
this is dirty.
But generally, Monica, I like the way this is shaping up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah,
good.
and as I said, we can, if something hits us and we say, oh, we forgot something or whatever, we can keep adding it. I mean, it's an open document.
Mhm.
We can keep refining it, but I just don't, I stepping back from it, I feel like there were maybe some, really specific, concrete comments along the way, and I tried to put them in, but I might have generalized a few things too much. So, I will go myself again through all the comments and say, well, it's really not reflected, but I guess if you're okay with where we're at, I'm not gonna come up with a whole new different set of goals at this
Mhm.
point. I'll just kind of keep working with you on these. And
It's great.
so keep cleaning it up and making sure and it may be that we want to at some point release it to the community. I mean, it's out there it's, the first set from last week is in the minutes. So we'll get those up on the website. So at some point, if the community wants to comment and sees things, that's another step to take. Otherwise, I'll just keep, listening to you and trying to incorporate what I hear.
Okay.
Okay, all right, well, thanks.
Sometimes one thing builds on another,
Mhm, yeah. I mean, they're so interrelated and it is hard to tease things out and kind of, put them in under different headings because they are, overlapping. So. Thanks.
Great. Thank you for all the work on that.
Yeah.
So
Me?
it's your turn, George. Do you want to introduce yourself briefly, though, for people who might be watching the recording too
Okay.
and anyone who doesn't know
People? Or do we have?
Catherine was going to
Oh, that's
attend
right.
virtually, but I don't see
Who was?
Catherine.
Okay.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, but I don't see her.
Well, for the record, I guess, I'm George Franz. I'm assisting Monica Fritzl with writing up the ag plan. I'm a professional planner. Wear now two hats. This is Caroline is my one fun project of the year. Okay, I'm officially retired.
Oh, you too.
All you retired people.
You retire, you find out there's nothing good on TV.
No, that's right.
But I actually retired from my practice and I now teach full-time in the Department of City Regional Planning at Cornell, primarily open space, agricultural land protection, planning. So, and I still keep my hand in the region because I teach the 3 of the field workshops in the department. 2 of which focus on planning here in upstate New York, working in various communities, actually literally from Salamanca to Westchester County. I take
That's a
students
range.
into communities and put them on planning projects. So, and again, I've been involved with agriculture for 35 plus years. Actually starting in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And I've worked again throughout upstate New York, working with communities on agricultural farmland protection plans, did a couple county ag and farmland protection plans, zoning regulations, et cetera, et cetera. So happy to be in Caroline. I now, Danby is the last town that I have not worked in Tompkins County. So, but. And again, I'm here tonight, I've been working on two aspects. First is this assessment of the proposed town of Caroline zoning as it relates to agriculture. I'll pass these out, and I apologize. I have been having this running battle with Lyme disease since the beginning of July, and doctor says I won, but I'm still have there's side effects like this afternoon. The mind goes fuzzy, and actually, yeah, there's some embarrassing typos in this. Okay, and I apologize for them.
So you got it pretty bad, Lyme disease.
I got it pretty bad. I got actually, it was Lyme disease plus a severe infection in the leg, in the vicinity of the wound, and 5 courses of antibiotics.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
It's not a partridge in a pear tree.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and actually, I discovered it on the way to China.
Oh.
But fortunately, I went to the ER room and the doctor knew what it was. So I actually got on antibiotics within a week of being bitten.
Do they use doxycycline over there for it too?
No doxycycline. I'm allergic to it.
Oh,
No, jeez.
It was levo something. And then for the infection, they put me on penicillin. And then by then I decided I better come home and be tested positive. Then it was amoxicillin, and then a new generation of antibiotics that I can't pronounce.
Ow.
So anyway, and I'm
We all
also
have-
allergic to amoxicillin, and
yeah,
so I had the rash.
Oh, jeez.
yeah, what's
But-
worse, the rash or the-
Yeah.
So, but anyway, what this is just, again, an assessment of the draft regulations, and they're good. Okay, what I found were, mostly small technical, things. In terms of permitted, not permitted land uses, and this section is actually advisory. Just asking, if some of these land uses in the ag rural district really are not compatible with agriculture. Okay, so, but again, it's your zoning code, and if you're comfortable with it,
I don't know that you should ever use the word comfortable in zoning
well,
with a, yeah, in the same sentence with a mixed group.
yeah, no, and I understand. There is. It's been a tough road the last year, I know, for you guys. Hammering out what is appropriate for Caroline. Under definitions, and this is actually the first one, commercial horse boarding operations. Of course, you permit horse farms. They're recognized as agriculture.
Mhm.
Okay, but commercial horse boarding farms are not necessarily agricultural operations. They could actually be, the boarding, let me put it this way, across the state, many municipalities, I would say, refuse to recognize commercial horse boarding operations as being agriculture. To the point where Ag and Markets added it to their definitions of agriculture.
So there are communities where they push it too far and there's backlash against having, 100 horses all
Well-
lined up in a boarding.
Or a big barn, or riding paddocks, or actually giving riding lessons, or renting you know,
It's a commercial business versus an agricultural business where now if they were putting up their own hay and all that, then they become agricultural.
Right.
yeah,
It's
but
sort of like the way that a slaughterhouse, even though it's critical for farms, is not an agricultural business, it's considered light industrial.
Correct.
But in this case, you know, I think it'd be worth it adding commercial horse boarding operations as a permitted use
Sure.
in a rural ag district. And then under farm stand, I recommend it's defined as a temporary use. And I recommend just deleting temporary use and permit them to be a permanent structure year round. May want to limit the size. You know, because I know a number of former farm stands that are now farm markets. Okay, so, but yeah, temporary use, that's, again, it's,
But that can be the natural progression of starting a farm stand and then growing the
Well,
business.
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's where you'll run into a whole other thing
yep,
where now you gotta stop. I don't think so.
no, and that's, yeah, so, but again. You know, simple, relatively minor change. Permitted them to be permanent structures. Okay, and again. Throughout upstate New York. This is very common. Farm stands are temporary. Have to be removed, et cetera, or they're wagon or something. It's okay if they're permitted to be permanent. So. But third one, you have a definition of greenhouse nursery. And I actually recommend that you split those two. Greenhouses can be for flowers, plants, horticultural items, as well as vegetables, okay? But a nursery tends to be primarily horticultural plants. And they also tend to not just have plants, but they have generally a fairly large retail operation. And also a landscape contracting operation.
So they fall under commercial.
Well, no, they can be permitted in the agricultural zoning district, but I'm just saying, these are really two different types
Business.
of agricultural uses. So just. Okay. Light industrial manufacturing, my only concern there is there's no limits on how big it can be. And so what I propose is what we did in the town of Ulysses was define a cottage industry as, again, a small industrial operation owned by the person living on the property and employing perhaps 10 employees or something like that. It's just a way of keeping them a small scale.
Well, I think the zoning laws sort of did that in the way they set up what normally is a home business.
Home-based business.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they started out as a pretty limited definition and then after much discussion over many months, they loosened the definitions. You know, for instance, why should you have to be the person who lives there? Like, couldn't you live
Well,
next door? Can you live?
You can have it in your garage, but
Just
then you
stuff
grow
like
to the
that.
point that now we can't do it out of our garage.
then
We've
you
gotta
can
have a
build,
larger building.
you can build a building, yes. And the idea here is that would be permitted.
Mhm.
Okay, but, and one of the controversies I was involved in actually way back, and it was in Lancaster County. But Conestoga Wood Products started out in a shed behind the farmhouse and had a few employees, okay? By the time it was on my desk for an expansion, they had 100,000 square foot plant in the middle of the cornfields. And they needed another 50,000 square feet.
Prosperous business.
Prosperous business, but it was also on a very narrow, lightweight lane and a half road with a lot of tractor trailer traffic.
On it. Turn the
Okay.
road up.
So, that's every time I see light manufacturing in rural areas, that's,
It could get bigger and we might want to be
Yeah.
able to.
so,
So I do have one question,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to read this as we're going. And I don't know if the board has addressed this because I've been busy with other things. But at one point in the zoning, it said any operation that wants to become a CAFO has to get a permit from the zoning board.
yes,
And I'm here to tell you, if I got 200 animals, I am not gonna beg for a permit and be told no when that's a natural progression of the business.
that is probably the one of two.
It'll never happen in this town.
No, but my concern with that is ag and markets,
We're already
I
on
was,
them,
that's what I was
No, no.
gonna say, this isn't,
but that was written into that zoning plan as well. Which is just another layer that you have to contend with.
no,
And what if they deny you the fact that,
well, on the bottom of page 5.
okay,
No, wait, you're not there. Where did I put it? Okay, sorry, towards the top of page 5, that
Yeah,
first
mentioned-
bullet,
Yeah. Mention CAFOs there.
requirements for accelerated site plan review
Oh,
for
maybe
concentrated animal
contravention.
feed operations. May be in contravention of the ag and markets law. Because under the law, the construction of any farm building is exempt from anything other than a building permit application. So, and that's what I put down here.
so you found that,
Well,
yeah.
and also, so wait, you talked about definitions, I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
so aren't CAFOs, they're defined by the state?
they're defined by this. Well, you also, I think, define them.
But that's what I was wondering, is the town's definition the same as the state's?
And the state changes theirs from time to time. It used to be 200 animal units, and about 8 years ago, it got up to 300 animal units, which was more in line with the national standard.
And what's the process, if you exceed that, you're gonna have 350 animal units,
You
does
fall.
DEC?
Well, you fall under DEC
Yeah,
regulations for manure and other
Right.
such things as that.
Right,
And I mean, you've got
And then there's medium
manure
CAFOs.
records that have to be kept, there
Right.
are.
oh, yeah,
Yeah, there's medium
Gallons per
CAFOs,
acre.
large CAFOs.
right,
yeah,
And I don't see where your next door neighbor says, I don't want the CAFO next door. We're talking 50 cows one way or the other.
well, and again, I'm putting
You
this
can't
in,
stop it.
what are the odds of a CAFO in Caroline?
0.
Zero.
Well,
Not
Zero.
once I win the lottery, because then my kid would love to play big farmer, but that'll never happen.
There's just nothing.
yeah, but again,
yeah,
I have to
Yeah,
point it out.
there isn't the land base in the town of Caroline to run an operation of that sort anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, at the
Never
best, the town of Caroline in the 70s had 800 dairy farms.
Yeah,
And they've lost probably 50% of the agricultural land that was usable in the town of Caroline since then.
yeah, it's true. I mean, the ones I know of up in like Cuba County, over in Schuyler, Yates County, they're required to have like 1,000 acres,
Yeah.
In one place.
or, yeah, or at least within,
Or yeah, you're
Yeah.
driving over the whole damn town.
yeah.
And
Does CAFO apply to any animal? I mean,
Yes.
what about turkeys? I mean, I could imagine.
Any
Turkey,
animal.
chickens, pigs.
Yeah,
So you have over 300 turkeys.
Well, but you
Well,
said animal units.
animal units.
And animal units is like 5 sheep is one animal unit. Like an animal unit is what, 1,000 pounds, right?
Yes.
Is that the definition?
Okay.
So you'd have to have a
Of course, I
lot of,
should have known.
you'd have to have a lot of turkeys. It wouldn't just be 300 turkeys.
It'd be like 500,000 chickens or
Yeah,
yeah,
300,000 turkeys or
so,
something like that.
250 pigs.
But if you've
Or
got your
1,000
business to
pigs.
that size. You can't just say, we gotta stop.
Well-
It doesn't work that way.
Right,
but,
But we're talking about something that ain't gonna happen in this town.
right.
I just hate to see the wording there.
and again, at least one other town in Tompkins County has effectively banned them. Which is like, I'm just waiting
Waiting for the law.
for the farmer to
Mm.
file a protest with
Hmm.
Ag and Markets. Because, yeah, they have effectively banned them. And that's not good.
Yep.
So,
Are there any places in Tompkins County where residents have gotten unhappy about the density or the amount of manure or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Problems or?
just
Go
about
on
anybody
the
within
raceway
half,
right
yeah,
now.
anybody within half a mile of one.
Mhm.
Where did you say that?
Ringwood Raceway right now. Sherman's covered that field the last few days. But in a week, it'll
It'll be-
dissipate,
yeah.
and they're only gonna do it once a year
Yeah.
because.
Yeah.
You've got your certain amount that you can put on, and that's it.
Yeah,
And by the way, one of the things that we've observed throughout the region is the disappearance of farmhouses.
Mhm.
Mm.
Because the owners of CAFOs do not want anybody living
Right,
anywhere near. And so when they acquire the farm.
Yeah.
Traditionally, they used to rent out the farmhouses, not anymore.
yeah.
They tear them down.
Wow.
Or
They live in town.
So, but again. This a yellow flag.
Yep.
Um,
Thank you.
and the other thing too is, the next one, accessory dwelling units, okay. Has a requirement for accelerated site plan review. And. Again, it's out of the purview of my review, but. The town of Ithaca has had ADUs in its zoning as permitted uses for like 30+ years. Without any need for any site plan review. And Ulysses, I'm fairly certain it does not require site plan review. So. But as far as farms go. You should exempt farm worker housing. Again, to avoid that contravention issue with Ag and Markets law. So. Again, we'll just continue down the next one, section 501E. This is actually clarification, okay? The town does note that agriculture does happen on steep slopes, okay? And that's okay. But the way it's written, it's not sort of clear. And so I recommend that the section explicitly exempt agricultural practices. Okay.
Okay.
So, and again, that's also to avoid contravention with Ag and Markets.
I mean, I think
So what you're
we
saying
have
is Ag and
language.
Markets could, it could be like a flag that would get them to come in and say, hey, you can't restrict
Yeah,
a
yeah.
farmer that we are supporting
Yeah.
from
What they,
farming on a steep slope.
the term they use is unreasonably restrictive regulations. Okay, that unreasonably restrict a farmer's ability to operate. And, you know, restricting things like it's not, in my mind, it'd be helpful to make it really clear. I mean, they mentioned, yes, okay, plowing's okay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but then there's something about 15% slopes. That might have restrictions.
And that's why we're putting them in contour strips and everything
Mhm.
else to
Well,
account for the erosion and.
Yep.
But again, this is just to clarify,
Yeah, editorial, yeah, yeah.
so. Oh, this is just a personal recommendation, 5.2B. Agricultural buffer areas between subdivisions and commercial development. That's a guideline or so, it's not exactly mandatory. But the thing about it that caught my eye is that it's really designed to protect the residents of the new subdivisions. And really, it should also protect farmers. Because there's issues popping up now around upstate New York where there are no buffers and farmers are running into issues with like, oh, you're spreading manure too close to my well. Or actually county health departments are beginning to restrict farmers from spreading manure within X hundred feet, 100 or 200 feet of any existing well. And so,
And the issue is they buy the property, they put the house in, they put the well in 20 feet the other side of the property line. And now I've got to stay back another 70.
yeah, so it's really sort of perhaps in the rural agricultural area zoning district, make it also a protection for farmers, but also make it mandatory. You know,
So would it, I mean, it does protect farmers, right? So would we change how it's designed?
no, it's fine as it is, but it's not always mandatory.
Okay, I get the mandatory part.
Yeah, and in agricultural areas, it should be mandatory too, so anyway. But this is actually, I sort of distilled what I have, I can explain this a little more for you. So. And finally, page 5.6, this was, it has to do with the timber operations in the riparian buffer area. And this requirement for it being done in accordance with Forest Stewardship Plan by, prepared by a forester who is certified by the Society of American Foresters, others, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, Ag and Markets has added timber harvesting as a legitimate agricultural operation. And so this requirement for a farmer to have to hire somebody to do a plan, that could be a contravention.
Even a homeowner that's got 100 acres, that's part of the farm. And
Yeah, well, again, this isn't riparian zones.
Well, just, we've been doing revision. You worked from the March 27th version, right? Of course. The one the zoning commission
Actually,
gave us.
November.
Oh, November.
Okay.
Okay, so we've taken that out.
Oh,
That's
great, okay.
Well, I will take it out. But
Does
again,
it say? Oh, yeah, it says the November 2022 version, okay.
yeah, so,
so I have one other question.
okay,
That kind of in line with this, with the riparian buffers, and Mark will probably be able to give me the answer of it. Months ago, you guys went through and were discussing riparian buffers on intermittent and perennial, non-DEC controlled streams. And I asked the question, what about cleaning, mowing, maintaining, putting crossings in them? Has there been any mention of that? Because part of what we do farming is we maintain some of these streams or they flood the field. I've got an 8-acre field. The bank's this high now
Yeah.
because it's. So has there been any changes, any definitions put into that?
So we, for the riparian buffer, we added, there's language in it that mowing and
Yeah.
maintenance like that is permitted or is part of it, so.
Yeah, actually, I think it says, yeah, and activities part of any agricultural operation
Yeah. that's
are
right.
permitted within the riparian buffer zones.
Okay.
That's right.
That
That's-
missed that
that's it.
part in what I've read,
Yeah.
but.
My concern was just with timber harvesting.
Okay.
So, but actually, I forgot one more. I don't know if you guys addressed this, but the threshold for going from the small solar arrays to medium size, and then that require a special use, what is it? Oh yeah, special use permit. Okay. The issue is that the average farm operation, and I didn't put it in here, but its average consumption of electrical power is like somewhere around 90 kilowatts. So what you're saying is about every farm that wants to install solar is going to be subject to special use permit. And again, the way Ag and Markets law reads, their regulations, any energy system that generates less than 110% of a farm's anticipated electrical need are considered beyond farm equipment and exempt from such review. So maybe, yeah, do you want to maybe up it to 100 kilowatts, or again, maybe use the 110%
Mhm.
for farms?
Just use 110%.
Yeah, up to 110, yeah, just, you could even just take this language and add it
Mhm.
to apply to agricultural operations.
Okay.
So-
Like that.
You know, again, otherwise, this stuff is really technical. And otherwise, the zoning code is pretty good. Again, Nan Stoltenberg, I know Nan.
Did you touch base with her at all or?
No,
No.
no, I think. No need,
Great.
so,
Good. Well,
so yeah. And I will get you guys a cleaned up version.
You will what?
I can get you a cleaned up version.
Okay, great.
So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
again, I didn't think there were going to be any, many major problems, if any major problems, and I really think these are mostly just minor technical.
Yeah, and
issues.
I know the board went through a lot of, I think even the zoning commission did at the late stages, but anyway. I'll look at your notes and review the use table with regard to your
Okay,
thought, that'll be helpful.
Yeah. okay,
I think that changed significantly, so,
okay, good.
great, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Okay, now the fun stuff.
That's what we just did.
More fun, the pie chart.
Or the pleasurable. Yeah.
Anything more than a pillow.
Yeah.
Ready for a pillow.
This was actually, I think, more my curiosity than anybody else's, but a long time ago in the town of Newfield, I actually came up with this what I call the measles map way of tracking development, not based on tax parcels, but actual structures. And the town's comprehensive plan did it for residential, commercial, industrial. but not agriculture. Okay, so what I did was I actually went back and did my own. And in terms of residential and industrial, or yeah. Industrial, commercial, government, institutional. That matches what the town did, but I just added this part on agriculture. And, you know. And the good news is, yeah, in the last, since 2002, there's been, I've identified 19 new farm operations in the town
Since when, sorry? 20.
since 2002.
2002, okay.
Yeah.
That's, well, so we're in that, and you have a picture of my farm.
Is that your farm?
Yeah.
Oh,
I got a
Yeah.
big picture.
Sorry.
I did not know. So, yeah. Yeah, you're on there too, but, and what I define as a new agricultural operation is literally like a new barn complex, maybe with an existing house, or in some cases, it's a complete new farmstead. It's like Shears house with the agricultural operation. And so I identified 19, which I think is good. 5 are new horse farms or farmsteads. 4 are general livestock, cattle, pigs, poultry operations. And I actually want to go back and do some ground truthing here. Because some of them are pretty difficult to figure out. 5 vegetable operations, fruits or horticultural operations. And then, yeah, 4 that I could not classify, and then 1 agritourism operation in Scotland. So, but.
You could,
I'm sorry,
you drove by or?
this was all done on satellite imagery, but I have driven through the town.
We have a small agritourism, similar to
Okay,
King of
yeah.
Scots
you
at our
finished
place.
that.
Mhm.
But it's much smaller than what they have, just one accommodation.
Yeah. Well, again, I think,
But that's pretty amazing that you can do that with satellite
Yeah,
imagery.
right. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
scary.
Yeah, right? What else can they tell?
depends on how much I
That's
pay
where
for the satellite
I couldn't
imagery.
tell, where are the marijuana farms? So-
Yeah, well, that would take, yeah, I actually wasn't looking at vegetation too closely. But,
At that scale, you can't tell hemp from.
oh, yeah, that could be, yeah.
Mhm.
Can I be a scold?
Mhm.
Can I be a scold?
Gold?
Like,
Well, like of the operations that I know, okay, here's a new operation, but it was an operation when I was a kid in the 50s. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, over time, that,
Okay,
that
it
would-
faded out, but then it, came back.
Hmm.
But
Not the
that-
same people, but
but
So
it was,
wouldn't that count
but it
then?
was actually abandoned for a considerable time.
yes.
Right,
I would
Okay,
call
I'm
that-
just,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
that's
But
interesting, though.
again, a good example of something not new
But.
is Glenwood Farms.
yes,
I mean, the
Yeah.
bison are new, but
it was a dairy farm.
Right,
10
has been
years
in
ago,
active farming for how many decades? Yeah,
For a while.
generations.
and again, at least one of
But
these, the one.
I'm
on-
wondering, I'm sorry to
No.
interrupt, but I'm sort of wondering if the fact that the quote farmstead still exists is it's an asset for someone. Maybe it was dormant for a
Well,
while, but
yeah.
then it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Glenwood Farms
Resources
is
that.
a perfect example of what I was talking about, just the timeline was a little different.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, if you're looking at it that way, though, I mean, just about everything here was a
that's
farm.
right.
So like our
You're-
place was farmed
Yeah,
but when we bought it, didn't resemble a
There-
farm in any way, shape
It
or
was the
form, had
same
been,
as, yeah,
had been 30 years, you
Quickland
know,
had gone out of, as a dairy farm, it quit in the sixties,
yeah.
early sixties.
and there was one I can't think of, it's also actually tourism, I think, out far west part of the town of, oh, I can't remember the road, but it's a long-standing farmstead, Barnes and Lake, but they've built a substantial enough new building that I listed that as new operation.
On the
Yeah.
west side of town?
Yeah, way on the west side, the little,
Is it one of your?
it's
yellow
also
ones?
bed and breakfast.
Oh, is it,
Oh,
Debbie?
Deb, yeah,
Copper?
on Burns,
No,
on
that wouldn't be
Banks Road,
Yeah,
on Banks.
Banks Road, that's
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That-
Used to be CPO,
Mhm.
Cuba Pure Organics.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
And a strawberry farm before that.
yeah, okay, so that was a substantial investment, that new building.
Yes.
Okay, and that was after 2002, so I'll
Yeah.
keep that.
Yeah.
So,
So you, I mean, you do have, George, and we looked at this at the office the other day, so I mean, quite a
Oh,
few of
okay.
these dots have been identified when you have the big map.
my mind, again. My mind, not quite.
All right. So it kind of gives you a little better orientation to roads and.
Yes,
where these
yes,
places
this is-
are, but-
Yeah.
Depends where you're sitting.
Yeah, right, you can't see it. Yeah, I can't read it either. But yeah, so we were trying to identify, I mean, some of these places we know, or you had labels on them
Yeah.
for names, but not all of them we know.
And again, this one here, the vegetable operation and,
Nook and cranny.
Yeah,
no.
No.
No, Nook and Cranny's
That's
over
at
there.
79 and Level Green, right?
Yeah, this was
Oh,
a,
it used to be Elmer,
yeah, what
Yeah.
is his name?
Elmer, Will Elmer,
Will, yeah, Will.
but
yeah.
he left,
They
right? And I
left,
don't know
yeah,
who
They
took.
don't live there. I don't think it's active right now.
yeah,
Active.
yeah, again, Google showed the 2000,
Yeah, there's a
22.
greenhouse there still and.
okay.
Oh,
So this is like the intersection, isn't this Buffalo and
Yeah, this is
76
Carolina
right here?
Center.
Yeah, okay.
One of the dirt road bought that,
Yeah.
barber shop.
Oh, this
Yeah.
is our place.
That's,
then.
yeah,
Okay.
and
And who's,
that's a small horse farm,
Could be a Libby.
5 acres.
no, Olivia would be,
Is that off Landon
This is
Road?
the
Olivia
new-
would be down
Yeah,
here.
this is Chestnut.
Oh, is this Catherine's?
Yeah.
Well, if it's Chestnut, it's Catherine.
Yeah, that's Catherine.
Okay, so there's another one down here.
Over.
Oh, is
here.
that,
Oh. There's a Olivia's horse farm, but I don't know when, I don't know the history. How long it's been like.
that must be, yeah, Digers.
Oh, yeah, right. Wait a minute. Anne isn't on here.
But isn't she closer to the road?
Yeah, she would be
Right there.
Ann Dagger.
Yeah,
owns the
that was,
farm
we
right
did
here.
notice that the other day, that that was a missing one.
And it was dormant for a long time. Like it used to be a farm and then it was dormant for I don't know how many years.
Okay, so
So-
Dagger,
The
Yeah.
owner was there, the dairy cows went in the early sixties. A lot of
Okay,
dairy
so-
farms went out around here in the early sixties.
the buildings are there. They're old, but it
Yes.
was abandoned for a
Yes.
substantial amount
Yeah,
of
yeah,
time. Okay.
Yeah.
50, 60.
It is pretty old. Yeah.
It is.
I also
old, but-
wondered about Colin Meeks.
Yeah, with this.
Okay, wait a minute. So this is
He derailed-
76
he-
Road.
Oh, Sixth Road.
This way, Yapel. Is this Yapel?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And he'd be on, oh, he's there.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Or is that Aaron? Shefto?
He.
Oh, right, Aaron, but Aaron would be
Aaron will be
here.
there.
Yeah, this would be
Okay.
Aaron.
That, okay.
And then who's? This is
a-
still,
Yeah, I drove all over here. And
Oh.
there was no sign of those. I mean, because they're way back off the
Yeah.
road
Yeah,
yeah,
and well hidden.
yeah.
There's that
Um,
Christmas tree place over there, right?
Yeah,
so-
Hunts.
once, but they've been.
So
going-
is
Yeah,
that
that's been
where-
going for a
Does
long
Ed
time.
Cope still have Christmas trees out there somewhere?
No, it's a solar field.
Yeah, the
Oh,
solar.
the
yeah.
solar field is, there's
Yeah.
one.
76 road.
Yeah, it may not be there.
Who's this? Oh, is this, what's their names? Brad?
The
Yeah,
tree,
sir.
Thirsty.
Yeah,
Thirsty Fruit.
thirsty
Yeah.
fruit,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, that was,
Jursix.
Jursix.
That one's interesting. I don't know that one.
Yeah,
Way out.
way
on
out there.
Level Green.
And I
Where is
forget,
it?
It's.
this is level green, but I
and that's
think,
Goodrich Hill there.
This is Goodrich Hill right
Yeah.
here? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So
That's where Michael and Selena just bought. But they don't have a farm.
oh, this is the, so, their driveway, they come in this
Oh,
way.
what?
Yes. Oh, yeah, this is the one with this huge house and really small barn, but there's a paddock and.
No kidding.
indications of-
Ah,
yeah.
So this is level green right here, right?
interesting.
Yeah, this is level green here.
And Goodrich and
Yeah.
Blackman Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know where that is. But I don't
And
know
this
what they're
is a
doing.
small one that is the same way. It's like tucked back in.
Yeah, I think that's
That's.
Aaron
Aaron
Shafto,
and-
Aaron and Noah,
Yeah, no,
Aaron
You have to
Shafto.
go in.
you'd have to go,
Hawk
if you
Hill,
went in the driveway, you'd.
Hawk Hill Farm, she had some small sheep,
Hawk Hill.
Shetland sheep,
And Noah
Oh, okay.
Noah Ham.
Ham.
So it's not horse. Okay.
Erica, thank you. Dinner's wonderful.
And one I actually need to check out is, there was a, here. There's now a produce store, Jasper's
Wait. This is,
Lasher's.
on
Oh,
Hartford
Lash-
Road.
Oh, Lash.
Lasher's. That's
Yeah.
been there
Oh,
for,
that's
Lasher's,
been there a long
Lasher's, yeah.
time, yeah.
in a few years, he'll say, I'm done and walk away.
He's been there for a long time.
Was that the same, for a long time, there was a sign for, there was a produce store there.
He's been there forever.
I mean, his
Did it have a
dad-
different name?
It seemed
Well,
like
his
he
dad did,
built
but
a
it was a
new,
little less.
They built
didn't-
that a number of years ago because they were in the basement of the house.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, you
okay,
had to know it was there because it wouldn't be obvious.
Mm,
yeah,
The
I mean,
Nook
it
and
went from a
Cranny's right next to
junkyard
that,
a produce
right?
business.
Yeah, just down the
yeah,
road,
just
yeah.
down the road.
And then Amy Glacier is
Oh, yeah, where's her place?
right in that.
And,
same
and
area.
Scotland Yard is in the same area
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, Scotland Yard there,
Okay,
and then down, they have a new farmstead just down there.
so wait a minute, what about Elisa's and where's Mid-Aw Road?
So it's
Uh,
near the big water
here,
It
to.
would be
Wait.
down here.
Oh, no.
Oh, cause here's the, this
Yeah,
is,
that's
Yeah.
so
the
Elisa's,
No, she's toward Emily from the.
wait, who's
quarry.
this?
this
But
is a
that's
horse farm,
probably the
Linfield,
orchard.
I think this is
You
Linfield,
mean Mrs.
Okay.
Palmer?
Yeah.
that's
This
on
is
Middle.
Banks, or is this
I didn't know her
Banks?
first name.
Unless,
Or maybe this is Banks
Elisa.
and this is Mid-Aw.
Oh, this is Mid-Aw, right?
No, that's
Isn't it?
Brookendale Road, and then this is Mid-Aw.
Oh, that's Mid-Aw,
she's gonna
okay.
be
Oh, so this is
there.
Thirsty Fruit
Yeah,
Farm.
no.
I'm sorry, not Thirsty, Fruit.
under.
Under the tree.
Under the tree.
Alyssa.
It used to be under the tree, it's not actually under the tree anymore, George.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cause this is Coddington Road.
Oh, okay,
it's
so we're right,
around there.
Elisa's, there's a sheep farm here where there used to be a dairy and then it was horses and,
But there were no farm, I mean,
but there's no obvious changes, she hasn't
There-
built anything or,
Yeah,
and
so,
he had a horse, a small horse.
Yeah.
stable.
What about Haiti over on?
Oh,
Thomas
yeah.
Road,
Yeah.
right?
they probably don't show up yet either.
on Thomas
okay,
Who?
which is Thomas, is that?
Haiti board.
That's, no,
This
that's
is-
Ellis Hollow, that's Thomas
Yeah.
Road, right? So yeah, Haiti Barrero
Right,
is
middle.
somewhere right around
Yeah.
here, yeah.
Just
are they
doesn't show
going,
up yet.
they're
probably.
building a new house.
That's right
They're
next.
next
that's
to it,
just
there's a
to
new
the
house.
north of
Yeah.
where they are.
But Hades in an old farmhouse and her fields are across the
Yeah.
street and there's an old barn there.
And they just got added to the ag district.
Yeah,
Oh, they
that's
did?
what I
Awesome.
remember,
Yes,
and then I saw the new house. and it's like-
Haven.
yeah.
But I didn't list them because, again,
No
there's no
disruption.
No, yeah.
new
No, makes
building.
sense.
But this is interesting because I think now,
Yeah, it's
you've
cool.
identified 3 or 4
Mhm.
new agricultural enterprises.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And so the question is maybe at a future meeting, may want to add them.
Do you want to have, like a cash low economic standard, $1,000 gross,
I would,
stay away from that.
I would say,
Because it's more about the use of the land
yeah,
than it is about,
yeah, it's more
business
about the
districts.
use, but also it's sort of, as I know, there's been this evolution of agriculture.
Yeah.
Well,
In the
yes, I
town.
mean, it's because to me, it seems it's gonna be value added things, and it's gonna be smaller scale. It's not
Smaller
gonna be as-
scale, yeah.
And yet there's still, I don't know,
We've
yeah,
gone away from production farming to niche farming.
Yes,
Right.
yeah,
yeah,
and, or halftime farming, or,
yeah.
you're gonna work somewhere where you get benefits and you got a passion and you got a,
Work somewhere where you actually make money enough to buy groceries.
you need a lot of lettuce.
so,
Just don't call it a hobby farm, we'll bite your head off.
no, yeah.
I've had a hobby farm for years.
Like
I never made any money.
If you wanna call your own farm a hobby farm, that's totally fine, but I have a particular bone to pick with people who call any like small scale or niche farm or somebody who's a part-time farmer, just call them a hobby farmer because it's more about the economic realities and the family's goals or needs for economic stability or whatever.
I was called a hobby farmer when we were milking
Yeah.
60 cows.
I'm sure,
Because you didn't make any
I like
money
your
at it.
perspective.
yeah.
Or
No,
just,
it
it was somebody like Dennis Eldred or somebody that.
Yeah, no, I get a lot of hobby farm, derision
Yeah,
in the larger farming towns I work for, yeah.
sure.
But
I've had a hard time coming to the term of niche farm and production farm, and although production farming is going to the wayside, I don't see where niche farms will feed the masses, but it feeds a small group.
Well,
Yeah,
And
they won't feed the masses,
Yeah.
but there's still
Right.
value to them.
And
Yes.
Granny is the biggest,
yeah,
And you just don't know.
Revenue,
I
yeah.
stopped in
On
at
the
Stick and
smallest
Stone
footprint, yeah.
Farm today and, thinking, I've known those guys forever when Chow started and, thinking of a guy out of college. And now it's, over 1 million, I don't know how many million, but quite a few $1 million business
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
You just
I was
never know.
asking him
It takes
about,
desire and a dream.
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
And a certain amount of business
yeah,
acumen
that's the
and,
business
Yeah.
skill.
But it's
that-
also related to what Don is, and what's called the farm
Rosebud?
Future farm.
No.
Tom-
Oh,
with
Tompkins
Katie.
Yes.
They're
Tompkins Farm Future.
trying
Yeah.
to grow local
Yeah.
food economies that.
yeah, well, it's, I didn't, yeah, Chow and his operation physically
Mhm.
is really not that large.
Mhm.
Whose isn't?
Sticks and Stone Farms up.
Oh.
Well,
yeah,
we've
that's
talked
right.
about here in this town, I think the largest or one of the largest revenue grossing operations is Nook and Cranny Farm, which
Yeah.
is
Is
the
that right?
smallest footprint
Well,
probably of
Yeah.
most of the farms. I mean, it's, I
Yeah.
think 6 acres
No,
total
it's-
under production.
um,
But intensive vegetable production can do that when you sell
can do
direct to
it.
And
consumer.
he doesn't really produce a lot, so, really in terms of what he's
Yeah.
producing.
and
it's
again, if
pretty-
you look what's happening over in Yates County. Um, tremendous investment in high tunnels and greenhouses
Mhm.
by the
Yeah,
Mennonites.
right, and Amish, yeah,
And they're feeding the Rochester and Buffalo
Right.
markets. Again, small scale operations, but
Yeah,
we've
and-
had an ongoing conversation. I mean, you probably remember this from back in like 2006 when we first started doing beginning farmer, where I worked for the Cornell Small Farms program part-time. And we've had this conversation about like, how do we talk about the value of these beginner farmers or really small scale farms, because they have been derided over the years
Yeah.
as like, oh, those
yeah,
little cute little boutique farms or whatever. But they are keeping land in production. They're helping to prop up the infrastructure for farming, the feed stores, people who do fencing, the hay producers, whatever, even if they
Yeah.
only have a few animals. And you never know, you can't predict
Who's
who's gonna grow and become a bigger operation. And at the very least, their operations have some impact on their own families'
yeah,
household economics. maybe they're bartering with neighbors, they're growing their own food, so there's.
Making their kids get out of the house and off the computer.
Totally, yeah, I mean, there's so many values to it that transcends just pure looking at the economics of it, but we don't have the language and the data to like really talk about the value of those
Yeah.
operations.
Well, again.
I mean, I think it's interesting to me, just kind of, you know, you realize that 20 years, okay, starting in 2002, that this is actually a fairly robust transition, you know, I mean, it's much more, there's much more there than if,
Notable.
yeah, right. And, you know, yeah, you guys were still, you know, there was still more production farms than 20 years ago. But these places have started to
We're
creep
down
in.
to
Yeah.
a dozen in the town of Caroline
Mhm.
that can cover any amount of ground.
Yeah.
Or has the equipment to do it.
Mhm.
A few of the little niche guys have got a piece of equipment here, a piece of equipment there, but not
Yeah.
a line of equipment that can go from point A to point B
Well,
in
true.
farming operation.
To me, it was part of.
These guys are Cal's age, well, half of them are
Mhm.
better.
Mhm.
And there are a few years they're done.
There used to be though, it tried to be a self-sustaining economic unit where you could support a family.
Yeah,
And now it's every one of those. The person, either the partner or.
Yeah.
They're working in town,
yeah,
they have to.
Yeah, they have
It's
to.
not, whereas. used
They
be-
have to, or sometimes they want to.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
well, okay, so we were always, like, our plan was for me to be full-time on the farm, but I would still have Craig's income to help support
right,
the
yeah.
household. But then we made a choice. I didn't want to leave my job. And so we actually scaled the farm back because of that. And so that's, it's sometimes it is because of economic realities that like you have to work off farm to support it. But people do have some agency there too.
Yeah, but I'm just looking, it was 19 to 20.
Yeah.
The ones I
yeah.
see, it's not like a dairy that's shipping milk or
Right.
Mhm.
somebody
Yeah,
that's.
very-
raising-
Crystal and
has-
Scott were full-time on their farm, but they're also artisans.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't off-farm work, but they had,
Yeah, I'm just
work
making a
that's-
generalization,
yeah.
yeah, just.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And- oh,
people
yeah,
get creative.
Yeah, and actually, by the way, what I didn't get on here was, how did I?
But for me, it's part of, how we support these style of operations, that are the future.
Yeah.
And, with the changes that are gonna come with it.
By the way, this industrial shop structure, which I haven't put on here. I've observed in actually a lot of rural areas. These larger, what I call, they could either be small scale industries or contractor shops. Or even personal shops, whoops. And they're really popping up across the rural landscape.
Like a lot of
Were they
more.
like metal pole barns or what?
Metal pole barns,
Yeah, more.
and, again, they're not a concern, but, I know several of them that I identified, appear to be like contractors.
Mm,
And they're for their equipment storage and the like, and
Oh,
material
My husband's
storage.
got a handyman workshop on Banks Road in one of the barns. That's there.
Okay,
It's no longer doing farming equipment.
So,
it is striking to see how much Shindagan,
State forest.
yeah,
but like what are these? Like,
These-
this is like a plantation of,
yeah, those are state reforestation areas probably.
interesting, okay.
And what I haven't done, I want to do is actually compare this satellite image with, the soils map.
Mm,
I would love to see a comparison from the 50s to the
Mm.
70s to now. And you can just watch all the go like this.
Tompkins County, and this was. When did I do this calculation? Probably now 20 years ago, but. Let's say the last 70 years. the amount of forest land in Tompkins County has increased by about 50%.
Yeah. Cause you had all this under the soil bank. This all used to be open land here.
Yeah,
And now it's all forested.
and what I found elsewhere is where you see the farmland, the active farmland is also the best soils.
Well, because you're working with what you can.
Well, but
Keep what's the best.
Howard Conklin always said, you
Mhm.
could,
So
you
on the
could look at the
farmland.
soils map and tell you what the farms were.
well, yeah,
Can, can we include Matt's suggestion in the final plan, like go a progression?
Yeah, we can see if anybody has that
Hey,
data
Cal,
on
can
this
you find
county.
my property here? I know it's gotta be somewhere.
Right there.
There?
Yeah, that would be,
You're-
right, cause that's Flatiron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is Flatiron.
Yeah, so
There's,
that's you.
there's your old place and then
Oh, wait, so,
your new place.
oh, and
right
this
here.
is Level Green, so
So
that,
there's your
that was Will
driveway and
Elmer's.
there's your house
Okay.
right there. And then-
Yeah.
So one thing about
So
Level Green is.
This all used to be cleared
Yeah,
Oh,
years ago. That was all open ground up there.
well, even down in here and you go up East Cross Road, you can, some of that still.
Oh, yeah.
And,
So that, you know, that yellow dot, that should be, that's Ed Cope's property and he farms it, right? On Level Green.
yeah,
Is that what that is meant to
this was,
indicate?
this is actually a greenhouse.
That's that
was-
little,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's, yeah, well.
That's separate from, but the
Yeah.
land there
Elmer.
is owned
Yes.
by Ed and he has a farmer.
What?
yeah, he's,
So,
Went to church system.
yeah.
Put a greenhouse
Yeah.
in there.
He was gonna do
But yeah,
raspberries.
this one may disappear.
What about,
Came to the
Gooseberry.
Rosendale
what's his
Market
name?
for a
Boomer?
while.
No.
Yeah, but then he moved
Wait,
on.
what?
What's the
Yeah.
greenhouse that's right on 79, used to be a nursery, what's his name? And he's doing pot, I think,
It's a
Yeah.
big one. Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
multi,
yeah, I think it's,
somewhere,
Yeah.
yes, the old Larchwood, what's the
Here it
guy's
is.
name though? Goose-
here it is, yeah.
It's, I heard it's not Bama.
Bama.
It's, he wanted it to
Yeah.
us.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
It's doing
okay,
But it's here, and it was actually there in 2002.
Looked like
Right.
step right off
just
the-
different use, yeah.
yeah, that's
looked like
right.
step
Okay.
right off the
I think it was
stage.
very new then,
Hmm,
but
Yeah, that was when Paul Grinnell had it.
well, yeah, very interesting, thank you, George.
no,
Did you drive in up to this place here?
no, I drove as far as the turn above the sawmill and figured nothing's up there.
Oh,
That's. Bill
you're on
Casey.
Weston Road.
No,
Weston
that was-
Road, yeah.
That's,
Weston
that's
Road, that
where
was
we
up
are.
by-
Okay, that's Bill Case's property.
Bill Case.
Yeah, that's Bill Case's.
Okay.
What are they
Big house with
doing?
a little barn. He's got some horses.
He does corn, does
Oh,
different
okay.
things. He has beef cows.
Oh,
I think he has some pigs.
Okay,
He does horses, I know
Um,
people who.
and that sawmill, that's Ron Gregor's sawmill.
oh, great, good,
Yeah.
And we have a cabin right about there, so.
okay.
Yep, okay, now I didn't realize where it was.
I thought that's where you.
Yeah.
Cases, but.
I mean, the house is impressive, I mean,
He's got a walk around porch all the way around.
Yeah.
Building
but
So-
that would
He
be
cuts
mixed.
trees, so
I
he's
was-
got like wood.
I saw the
Yeah.
horse paddock and stuff, but so it would be mixed, livestock, beef,
Yep.
pig.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it was so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
water.
Might have done something for us at some.
in Brazil, they convert
He's
them
done
into
something
public
for
parks.
everybody.
I want, I would love that. I've been dreaming.
Yeah. All right, so we are at 8:30, folks.
Yeah, I
Oh.
got a pumpkin at 8:30.
Yeah,
That'll be entertaining to watch, we'll say for that.
Maybe next month.
Thank you so much, George,
no,
for all of this. It's really cool to see.
this is fun.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be continued, I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to really digest the
Yeah.
comments.
Mhm.
And people who weren't here
Yeah,
have a chance to take a look, so, yes.
Is this going to be, is this in electronic?
It is, but you guys can have this.
can we write on like what maybe next time we could.
So we have a copy machine that'll copy that?
Write.
What?
Yeah, it's.
Oh, we could get those
We
little.
could write what each.
Yeah, that'd be nice to write what he's
We can
trying
make
to.
little bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
They've
can
got to.
identify what's what.
yeah.
And also maybe
Oh.
add the ones that are missing.
Who wants to hold on to this though?
Yeah.
You.
I have a
like-
bunch of the other
No.
maps if you want me to keep it with all of
Paul?
or,
Yeah.
or you can put it in the town hall.
You have a.
No, I don't, no.
Okay,
And I think I made a mistake and the department is sitting, paying for that plot.
yes, thank you very much.
All right, well, good. Too bad there weren't more people. What do you think the
Trimmed.
rest of the committee is doing?
I said,
Are they getting tired of meeting or?
20s.
No, I mean, like,
Show.
Totally going to be